Good morning, Ramdino on the Camino community. Day Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think it's day 6. So we're leaving Logrono, heading on to, going to jump half a stage or a third of a stage, get to Azofra, I believe is what it is. Yeah, so everything's going great this morning. Everything went wonderful last night. Got to go hear the church bells are ringing, and they were pretty astounding how loud they were. Yeah, I'm going backwards. They were loud, and I did not know that church bells, when they ring them, they spin 360 degrees. That's crazy. And I couldn't tell why they were going off so much. I mean, it wasn't with the hour. I don't know if there was some type of service going on inside. You know, they're all Catholics, so I don't know if it required them to ring them at a certain point, stage of the service. I don't know, but anyway, really neat. Go back and check out that video if you hadn't. Good to see people, and I guess this is their culture, is gathering together and nobody on their phone, nobody watching TV, everybody hanging out, enjoying each other out in the town square. Now this is the old town square, so you know, we don't have a lot of old town squares. Their old town squares were built in the 10th and 12th and 14th centuries. Ours was built yesterday in comparison. But anyway, it was just really neat to see that going on. I wish we could create something like that back home. Now, as we left this morning, there were still people out. We're not on the square, and it was mostly men, although I did see a lady passed out on a bench, and she was dressed to the nines, so I'm thinking, why did somebody just leave her like that? But there was a lot of guys out. And as we were leaving at 6-ish this morning, there were still folks out there. I guess coming in, they were still whooping it up. Anyway, today's gonna be a good day. It's gonna be a little warm. I think it's supposed to be high 60s. So we'll see. We'll be doing so today we ended at a stage last night, and we'll be starting here obviously, and we'll be continuing on through that whole stage and then some. So right now we're just walking this path that leads out of town, and it's been pretty much hard paths all the way since we left this morning. Hadn't had anything out in the woods yet, so we'll see. And that's not to be expected on this trip. Just not a lot of stuff out there. Coming up on a fountain. I don't need any water. I think I'm gonna get some though. I'll talk about that in a bit. Way off in the distance, you see that big old mountain. We came from that yesterday. Pretty crazy. Look way that far away. Think how far you come just since yesterday. Whew. And how far you got to go. You look at the map of how far you got to go, and if I'm on stage 8, since I'm 6 days into it, I'm 2 stages ahead, then 8 into 33 is not quite a fourth. So I should hit a fourth of it today. I've been out here approximately not approximately 6 days. So, well, unless things all fall apart, it's doable in 4 weeks. So I expected I would do it in 4 to 5. Millie gets here though, I'll have to slow down because she won't have her trail legs. Whew. Sometimes I wonder if I got mine. Definitely got hiker hunger though. That town in the distance is Navarette, and I had planned on trying to make it here all the way, but my feet were killing me, and so I stopped short in Logrono. Logrono is a much larger town with more infrastructure. And it worked out for the better anyway because it was really neat. Never had tapas, which they call piñas here. Tapas are little bitty, kind of almost like a snack. But they just make them in all different varieties. The name tapa, and again, they call them piñas in this region. The name tapa comes from top. And apparently they used to, their wine glass, they would put a plate on top of it to keep the bugs out of it. And so then that developed into putting food on top of it. So now you just get food, but they had all kind of varieties. So I had wasn't baked salmon, it was some, I think it was raw salmon, but they heat them up for you, but on top of some type of bread like stuff, and then it had cheese with it and sauce, and then I had with that, so you can't just have that, it's not big enough for supper. And then I had a what was it? It was ham and cheese, but had sauce again on it, maybe some bacon or something. But so we had that, and then we had previously tapas at a different place. So they kind of do like a tapa crawl. You know, they go to the different place, it's got different varieties. So I would have missed all that, and I would have missed that church that was absolutely awesome to go through that and see that church. So it opened at 5. And went in there and walked around and stuff, and said a prayer for my family back home and continued good travels and stuff. So that's what we did. And then, so that worked out a lot better than coming here because my feet would have really hurt. So, and there was a place to stay here, but where I got was, I didn't take any pictures of it. Maybe I can find some on the internet, but the place we stayed was great. So it wasn't your typical albergue. They had people that were not pilgrims there either. A little more expensive than a typical albergue. They did, it's like 35 euros. But you got cotton sheets that had just been laundered. You knew they'd been laundered. A blanket that you knew had been laundered. You had your own little cubicle with your own little outlet and light and stuff. So, of course, hot showers and everything was very clean. So it was worth it to do that. They did not have dinner or breakfast, and so we just got on trail. And I had bought some apples, and a banana and some cookies. So that was my breakfast, eating on the trail, eating my way through my pack. Because when I picked that bag up at the grocery store, it felt like it weighed 3 pounds. So we're not coming into Navarette and be hiking on through here. There was a roadside vendor at the top that had some coffee, and he gave me a cookie with it, so I had that. And then I will maybe stop in here and get another cafe con leche. We'll see. But we'll catch y'all on the other side of Navarette. That was absolutely awesome. I hit the 601 kilometers to the end in Santiago waypoint marker. Here in less than a mile, by the time I get up here to Navarette, I will be under 600 kilometers. Woohoo! Kicking it, baby, kicking it, yeah. I'll be in the 500s. I see why people get so excited when they get on the AT and they hit that first 100-mile mark, then they hit the 600-mile mark. Means you're making progress. So anyway, I thought I'd share that with you. I know y'all probably get tired of seeing one medieval Spanish town after the other, but this is always feeling how blessed and how amazing it is to be walking through this. Huge shout out and huge thanks to my wife for allowing me to do this and experience this. I know hiking's not her thing, and she would not be enjoying this, but I sure the heck am. Appreciate y'all's support too. That means a lot. Look at this old chapel. Oh. And every little town's got one of these. It's, you know, dates to the 10th, 12th century, something like that. So I'm at a crossroads here. I would like to have some café con leche, but oh, up here's the cafeteria. Maybe I'll grab something up here. I'm not going to show y'all all of these, but I did want to show you I'm under 600, 597 kilometers to Santiago. That's exciting. Yes, it is. I am coming into Navarette. So after Navarette, this is not where I'm staying. This is the end of the stage. I am going to go on the 3.4 miles to Azofra. And because it's 11:20 now, most of the albergues you can't get in till 2. Although you don't get there between 2. Sometimes albergues open till 2, and then sometimes from 2 to 5 you can't get in because of the siesta. So you don't ever know. So in Azofra there's really on one albergue, and you can't make reservations. So it's either Municipal or Donativo. I'm not sure, but you can send them an email online and tell them you want to stay there. But that email doesn't give you a place, doesn't guarantee a reservation. And so I'm not exactly sure what the point of that is, but they ask you to do that. Maybe they're trying to figure out how many people they want to cook for dinner, or how many people coming in. I don't know. But so I sent them that email, or actually there's a form you have to sign up. Sign up and it sends you an email. It says, thanks for doing the form. You're not guaranteed a spot at Buen Camino. Awesome. And this is one of those towns in between stages. So there's one albergue. There's a pensioner house, which is considerably more, and then a hotel, which is a whole lot more. So I'd rather not stay at either one of those. I'd rather stay at the albergue. But I think they said they had, I can't remember, it looked like 80 beds in 30 rooms. So I know they have 2 beds in a room, and they have a pool with cold water for soaking my feet. So that's what I'm pumped up about. So 3.4 is another hour. So that puts me there somewhere around 1-ish. See how long it takes me to get through here. But that's the plan. We'll see. That's my goal. Well, I don't have a choice. That's where I'm going. Not a goal, that's a fact, because I ain't turning around at this point. One thing is, so this is going to be a 21-mile day for me. My feet are good up until about 16 miles. Right now, I'm in pretty much agony. I'm assuming that's my plantar fasciitis. I don't know if everybody has problems after 16 miles. Their feet hurt, but mine hurt. So I'm probably going to dial it back a little bit after this, at least for a couple days. And well, I take that back. Tomorrow I may go ahead and do a longer day because it works out. So we're right in between stages now, and there's a short stage coming up. So I think I combine the rest of this stage and that stage and have a reasonable day. And then from there, I may just a couple days dial it back and only do the stages, which a lot of them are, you know, 14, anywhere from 14 to 18 miles. But I think the next stage after this is 13, so that'll put me 3 stages ahead. So my goal, or what I'd like to do, is maybe finish, you know, instead of 33 days, which is that 7 times 5, that's 5 weeks, maybe finish in a little more than 4. We'll see. They give you 33 stages, so they assume it's going to take you 33 days to do it. That doesn't include any zeros. And then, of course, I got the Millie factor, so we'll see about her. Got some news from a guy I walked with about half an hour, Carl, from Canada. Carl said that, and when I get on trail, I don't watch the news, so I don't have a clue what's going on, whether it be back home or here. I just don't. And I came here not wanting to get political, knowing I was going to be in an international group of people from all over the world, and for an American, those politics are not good. So, and I completely stay away from politics on my channel. So even if somebody leaves comments that are maybe a few vague ones, but nothing that's downright political, that's just not what it's about. But I did hear that the flights are getting canceled because of jet fuel issues, so that's interesting. But maybe I need to catch up on some news, see what's going on, and plan accordingly. So it's talking about and I'm assuming it's the smaller routes that are not as profitable as the big routes. And of course, I know it's going to cost more for me to get back, whereas I could have got over here for could have got home for probably $7.50. It's probably going to cost me twice that. We'll see. But right now I'm not worried about that, because tomorrow will be the first week, and so I got at least 3 more weeks plus to go, as long as my feet hold out and the creek don't rise. All right, probably give you one more shot at me today before I turn in. Chat with you in a bit. So that was pretty much it for the day. I had to do my typical Pilgrim chores of get in there, get your bunk, make your bunk. Guess which bunk is mine? Hint, hint, it's not the neat one. And then I had to get some clothes washed, and had to go to town to the supermercado, as they call their little supermarkets there, and get some snacks for the next day. And then, of course, I had to come up with something to eat. There wasn't a restaurant in that town. There wasn't a community dinner, so I wound up just getting a couple packs of ham and cheese and eating those with a couple croissants with my Canadian friend. And then what I really wanted to share with you was that the guy that I had to sleep with, and you can see in these sleeping arrangements that you're only about 2 feet away from each other, right? So this guy was Irish, and I guess he went on a bender the night before. I went to sleep before he did. And the thing about it is that he was the worst snorer on the entire floor. He was so bad that everybody else on the floor commented about him the next day. And he was in my room 10 feet away from me. But I figured out a trick. So I slept with my tracking poles that night. And I figured out that if I would just take my tracking pole and barely tap him, that he would stir and stop snoring. So the first time I did it, he stopped snoring for about 5 minutes and started again. I mean, when I say snore, he's like he's strangling a cat or swallowing a cat or something. It's horrible.
Horror. Horror.
And then the next time I'd touch him, it'd about 10 minutes. The next time it'd take him 20 minutes to get back to sleep. But he never really woke up. He just stopped snoring. And so the 20-minute would give me enough time to get back to sleep. So didn't have that discussion the next day with him, but wound up getting enough sleep to where I didn't pass out on the trail the next day. But I wanted to share that with you. So if you're doing a Camino experience, just like you're in a hostel on the AT, better bring some earplugs. That being said, that was really the worst that I had. That was maybe the only time I had the entire trip, was that one occasion when I really needed earplugs. And the earplugs didn't do any good because he's so close to me. The vibrations from his throat are shaking the floor. So, and shaking the air around me. So it didn't do any good for earplugs. So that's really the only time, the whole time, I had problems with people snoring and then keeping me awake. I did not have to wear my earplugs. People tell you to bring masks. Didn't have to wear a mask. That wasn't an issue. You know, a lot of times people will get up early in the morning. Well, I'm the one getting up early in the morning, probably the one disturbing people. But that's okay, because as soon as I got up and started doing my thing, other people would get up as well. So didn't need the mask, didn't need the earplugs. I bring them anyway. They don't weigh much, and they're good insurance. All right, that's it until the next day on the Camino, folks. Appreciate you watching. As always, appreciate you, and we hope to see you on the trail in the good old US of A in America.